Tyreek Hill made the shocking trade request yesterday after the loss to the Jets in NFL Week 18. And on this episode of Miami Dolphins Today by Chat Sports, we're going to talk about the latest surrounding Tyreek Hill and on the Dolphins trade rumors. I am Nic Rohloff, the host, and I do want to get your thoughts real quick before I get into the latest on Tyreek Hill on if the Dolphins should trade Tyreek Hill. Let me know. Cast your vote. Type Y for yes or type N for no. Let me know if you think the Dolphins should trade Tyreek Hill off the roster. Well, let's revisit what Tyreek Hill actually said yesterday following the loss to the New York Jets. He said, "I'm opening the door. I'm out, bro. It was great playing here, but at the end of the day, I got to do what's best for my career. I'm too much of a competitor to be just out there." And I have a lot of thoughts on this statement, and I'm not happy with Tyreek Hill. You said, "I'm just a competitor," but you took yourself out of the game. You weren't really at practice all week long. You were instead at your store. Like, there's just a lot of BS having to put up with Tyreek Hill right now. And then he doubled down on this, tweeting when he got home, "Love Finn Nation, blessing. Y'all open doors for the Hill family forever. Nothing but respect and love." So he kind of doubled down on the trade request. And this morning, I don't know if he's just a troll. Like, we know he's a little bit of a troll, but then he escalated a little bit further, changing his Twitter profile picture to this photo. Like, and if you don't know what this photo is, that's Antonio Brown leaving the field as a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the New York Jets in Meadowlands before he ultimately was dismissed with the team. All I'm saying is that you make the trade request. You're supposed to be a leader on this football team. You aren't. You take the way out of this Dolphins roster. You kind of double down. You change your profile picture. I know he's a troll. I know he likes starting and making shit up on social media. But the dude is kind of unhinged, man. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, he is such a headache right now to have to deal with. And it's something that I'm really not about. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I like my players to just love playing for the Dolphins. One. Two, just come in, get your work done, be respectful to the media, and he just doesn't do that. And I'm just not much of a fan of this actions, and especially when he's out there not even performing that well. Yes, to miss 6 games, but he didn't crack 1,000 yards this season. He had multiple big drops. He relies on his speed too much. I don't even know if he's that good of a route runner at this point, and he's getting paid so much money past age 30 years old. Like, is it worth keeping him around anymore? And then when that trade request was kind of brought to Mike McDaniel and his attention yesterday, he said that he doesn't want to fight emotion with emotion and will have conversation with Tyreek Hill in the following days. I'll tell you what. I am going to fight emotion with emotion. I do not want Tyreek Hill to be on this Dolphins roster going into 2025. He requested a trade after the game against the Dolphins Jets, and I do not want him back. I don't care if he was just caught up in the heat of a moment. He did not perform to the expectations after getting a massive contract restructure prior to the season. He is an aging wide receiver that relies on speed, and I'm unsure, due to his stature of not being a big-bodied wide receiver, if he can transcend near the end of his career in a right way. The Dolphins should move off of him. I do not care that it won't benefit you that much financially this upcoming offseason, but I am good on Tyreek Hill. He requested a trade. I'm out. Trade Tyreek Hill. This is how I feel. Like, I will fight emotion with emotion. I just don't want to deal with the Tyreek Hill situation much longer. And I'll tell you what, folks, we'll have you covered all offseason long on Tyreek Hill, on the Miami Dolphins. So make sure you are subscribed today because we will have you covered with 2 videos every day. We'll be live on Tuesday for a live show talking about the latest in the offseason. Make sure you do join the channel. And as I mentioned just a second ago, I do not care if Tyreek Hill walks back his trade request. I don't care what he says anymore. I do not want him on the Miami Dolphins. I am good on that. And if we're going to be honest, and if you've watched the channel over the past 6 months, you would know that I was fine with trading Tyreek Hill at the NFL trade deadline if a good offer materialized. Because when you look at what the Dolphins have long term, sure, you don't have much, but I do find the makings of a decent wide receiver room still. Like if you trade Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle becomes your wide receiver one. Malik Washington, the 6th-round rookie, is still there, and I would expect him to have a large role on the squad next season as the leading slot receiver. You also have Jonnu Smith, a reliable pass catcher at tight end, coming back next season. So all you would have to do is find a boundary wide receiver opposite of Jalen Waddle to rely on because you have Jonnu Smith on the inside as well as Malik Washington. Like, I don't know if it impacts your team that much if Tyreek Hill is off the squad. I think you could rely on Waddle, Malik Washington, and a wide receiver you picked up in the draft or free agency to play on the outside. Like, I am not that concerned if Tyreek Hill gets traded. And I have not seen the Dolphins win a playoff game in the last 3 seasons with Tyreek Hill. So is there really that much of an argument that the Dolphins would be that much worse? Like, be honest. What is the ceiling of the Dolphins with or without Tyreek Hill? It doesn't feel like it's going to change that much, right? So you might as well move off of that contract, potentially save money for the future to be able to allot that to other positions and get draft capital back, even though I don't think it's going to be a ton of good draft capital back, which we'll talk about on the back end of today's video. I still think it's more beneficial for Miami to just cut it, end it now, and make a Tyreek Hill trade since he did request it. Like I said, though, if he walks it back, I don't care. See ya. We'll talk about more in just a second, but we are sponsored by GameTime, the #1 ticketing app out there. And if you want to go to any live event, make sure you get your tickets with GameTime, whether it's a sporting event, concert, comedy show, theater, does not matter. I know the Dolphins season is over, but there's still Heat basketball. There's still Panthers hockey if you're in that area. And even if you're not in the Miami area or South Florida, you can still go to any live event in your local area with GameTime. The best tickets. They have GameTime Picks, a good feature that filters out the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats so you don't waste time searching through many tickets. They also have the lowest price guaranteed. If you find a ticket on a different service with a lower price for your seat, they will credit you 110% of the difference. They also show you a panoramic view of the seat in the app before you buy. GameTime is the best way to get your tickets. They make it so easy. So download GameTime today. Use code CHATSPORTS when signing up to get $20 off your first purchase. One more time, download GameTime. Use code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but get started with GameTime today. What time is it? It is game time. All right, I wanted to show this here because it does mean a lot in terms of a financial of the trade. There's a $27.7 million cap hit in 25 for Tyreek Hill if he's on the team. But if he is not on the team, he has a $28.3 million cap hit. So not so good. Now that does shrink to $12.7 million against the Dolphins cap if Miami were to trade him after June 1st. The entire salary for Tyreek Hill in 2025 is guaranteed. So what does that tell you? Well, we've mentioned this over the past couple videos we've done on Tyreek Hill. But if you make a Tyreek Hill trade this offseason, it will not benefit you this year. Now, you might still be able to get $15 million back in cap space, moving it from 27.7 to 12.7, but the draft capital you will get from Tyreek Hill will likely not impact the 2025 NFL draft. So if you get anything from Tyreek Hill, you will likely be able to use that free money in 2026 or whatever you are able to designate after a trade. But I also want to make note that it will not be that much. Like, I don't think he's going to be worth a lot. He's 31 years old. And as I laid out in the front half of today's video, he's 31. He's a smaller wide receiver, and he relies on speed. Now, do I think he still has a couple good years left of speed? Yes, absolutely. But is he someone that once his speed kind of declines, is he still going to be able to be a dominant force in the NFL? I don't know if he is. So to me, I actually think it would be beneficial for Miami to trade him anyway so they don't get caught with a wide receiver in Tyreek Hill that's completely washed and is getting paid damn near $30 million. So what can a fan expect in a potential Tyreek Hill trade? Well, I look at Devontae Adams on what he got dealt from the Jets or from the Raiders to the Jets. The Raiders got a conditional third-round pick that can become a second-round pick. Now, that conditions were not met, so it is going to be a 2025 third-round pick going to New York or going to Las Vegas for Davante Adams. Both are highly paid players, both in their mid-early 30s. Like, this is what I think you could expect. You will get a day 2 pick, maybe a second-rounder at best, but fans can already, in my opinion, put away the hope of getting a first-round pick in return for Tyreek Hill. So if a Hill trade does happen, expect the compensation to look very similar to this, or just straight up be a third-round pick or a straight-up second-round pick. Hell, it could be a third-round pick and a fourth-round pick, and the Dolphins would just have to probably take that because I don't think there's going to be that much of a market for Tyreek Hill. I got 4 teams that could make a move for Tyreek Hill coming up in just a second, but predict it for me. If Tyreek Hill gets traded, what team will it be? Let me know what squad you think could trade for number 10 down in the comment section. If I had to put a list together for my top 4 destinations with Tyreek Hill, these would be the 4 that come to mind right away. The Steelers have been looking for a number 1 wide receiver for the past, what feels like 2 off seasons. George Pickens is a head case. I think George Pickens will not get paid from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they'll look for a different wide receiver 1. So the Steelers could be a top option for Tyreek Hill. The Chargers, they need more wide receiver help. Yes, they drafted Ladd McConkey, and he's looked really good, but they could make a move for Tyreek Hill to pair up Hill and McConkey with Justin Herbert and try to go all in right now with that aspect of it. The Washington Commanders make a lot of sense to me. Jaden Daniels still on a rookie contract. Yeah, they've got Terry McLaurin, but could they send a 3rd and a 4th round pick to Miami, go all in with an offensive McLaurin, Tyreek Hill, Jaden Daniels, Brian Robinson, while they're not paying Jaden that much money, and try to win now in a weaker NFC? And then obviously you have to mention the Kansas City Chiefs, because the Chiefs are always going to try to buy talent low if they can. Hill, it felt like, was pushing for a return to Kansas City at the deadline. Miami's obviously didn't trade him. So I think the Chiefs would obviously be linked to Tyreek Hill as well. And we'll probably have a video of Tyreek Hill trade destinations coming out later this week. But I did want to share this quote to round out today's episode of Dolphins Today, because Drew Rosenhaus, who does weekly hits in South Florida, local news station, was asked about the trade request, and obviously he had to be prepared for an answer. He says, yeah, I'm going to talk to Tyreek about that. That will be an internal discussion I have with Tyreek before I address that publicly. So Tyreek Hill kind of went on his own here with this trade request post the game, which makes most sense and kind of adds to that raw emotion type excuse. But like I mentioned, I don't care if it was raw emotion. I don't care if he walks back a statement and says he wants to be in Miami. The damage has already been done, in my opinion, and I think the Dolphins should look to move off of Tyreek Hill this offseason. So make sure you are subscribed, because the rumors, the news will always keep on flowing here around the Miami Dolphins. They may have missed the postseason, but we'll still have you covered all offseason long with the free agency, draft, and trade rumors. So hit that sub button.